I had so much fun at what is the best movie of the year. Is it not? Our first movie review of 2023, and it is a humdinger. M3GAN is finally here. I'm so pumped to have my great friend, William Bibbiani, you know him as Bibbs, join me for a review of M3GAN, which was infinitely meme-worthy just from the trailer alone. But how is it as an actual movie?
And when you do that, you're going to pair with her.
Crazy. It's insane, right?
M3GAN is a new horror movie about a doll. Her name is M3GAN. It stands for Model 3 Generative Android, which it's good to know that people just put in the effort to make that work. It stars Allison Williams as a toy designer whose sister and brother-in-law die in a car accident, and now she has to take care of her niece, played by Violet McGraw. Allison Williams is a career-oriented single woman who isn't really up to parenting and decides to let her latest invention, a highly sophisticated android named M3GAN, essentially do all the parenting, and this causes her adaptable brain to go in some dangerous directions that end up getting a lot of people killed.
Yes. So I keep seeing this compared to Chucky by people who are too young to remember the Talking Tina episode of Twilight Zone.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, the killer doll thing goes back a really long time. We had Talking Tina. We had Dead of Night with the great Michael Redgrave back in the 1940s. That was a ventriloquist dummy, slightly different. But dolls have always been creepy, haven't they? They look lifelike, but they're not alive, and there's something just genuinely unsettling about them. But I think what M3GAN is after isn't just dolls are creepy, which a lot of movies have been happy to coast on for a long time, but also how we let toys, or since M3GAN is connected to your Wi-Fi, the internet, babysit your kids, and to a point where you're not really parenting them, you're just distracting them with stuff. And the movie is deeply, profoundly judgmental about that, but in that satisfying kind of horror movie moralizing way, where the people who do it are destined to get killed, while we in the audience go, and feel really good about ourselves. It's great.
And then check our phone the second that the credits begin rolling.
I was surprised at how emotionally and thematically sophisticated this movie is, and it's really good.
It is, because it's not just like, oh, technology is bad, which we've seen in so many movies. Like, what was that movie that James Ponsoldt did, The Circle? With Tom Hanks. Yeah. There's so many movies about, like, the cloud is evil, you know, sex tape, the cloud is evil. But this goes beyond that to the idea of, okay, technology, we rely on it too much and it's a crutch and it's too easy. But with this story, like, there's a genuine emotional connection between this little girl who has lost everything and is only like, what, 8, 9 years old. And this device comes along and assuages her when she needs it the most. So it's not just the simplicity of condemning our reliance on technology. It is that, but there are some interesting wrinkles within that as well. And, you know, it's a horror movie in name only, because really it's a comedy. This movie threads that needle so beautifully between horror and comedy. It's never really scary. It's tense at times when you wonder how far will this doll go. But this movie knows exactly what it is, in the way that, like, Snakes on a Plane knows what it is. Like, I had so much fun. I laughed my ass off. There's so much that I don't want to say because you should experience it. But there are
it's full of surprises.
There are musical interludes that I laugh my ass off at. And you know from the very beginning that this thing is going to be evil. Like, her eyes when she's being devised, you know, there's like a side eye, or she'll narrow her eyes as she's being built. And you know from the very beginning, like, oh shit.
Yeah. No, because she's doing to all of the characters what we're doing to, like, Allison Williams when she's failing to parent this kid well. So, like, we're being trained to see the world through M3GAN's eyes and judge it the way she's judging it, so that when she does inevitably kill people, for us, it's like, yeah. But also it's like, oh, are we monsters too? Maybe we are a little bit. And I think that's great. I will disagree with one thing, though, and it's more with the tone of what you said. Yeah. When you said it's a comedy, not a horror movie. I think horror comedies are also horror movies. And I think it's a matter of a horror comedy deciding what's more important? Are you going to be scary with some laughs, or are you going to have laughs with some horror elements? Ghostbusters is also a horror comedy. It's just not particularly frightening. I think this one, I think you're right. I think it does thread a needle, but I think it is a great horror movie in that jump out of your seat, drop your popcorn, scream at the screen, don't go in there. Yeah. Kind of way. And I think that's a perfectly valid horror aspect of the horror genre. And I think it works great. The movie, you compare to Snakes on a Plane, that's a perfectly good one. The movie I kept thinking about when I was watching it was Gremlins. Because Gremlins also has a lot of heart, but it also has a lot of acidity to it. And it's very judgmental about this town and this young person who was not ready for the responsibility of having a pet. And boy, did that backfire really, really bad. Had a great sense of mayhem as well. And I think the mayhem in M3GAN is incredibly entertaining. It's very, very fun, but it's also dark. It's creepy without being terrifying. And I think that's perfectly valid for the horror genre.
Yeah.
I think this is a legitimately great horror comedy.
It is. It's very tense. It is thrilling. I enjoyed it tremendously, but I was never frightened.
Sure. This isn't the Babadook. It isn't going to go in a much more dark direction than that. But I think it's not exploiting that for violent terror. The violence is a little bit aside from that. But I think it is genuinely trying to capture something real. But on top of that, there's a lot of genuine whimsy to it. There's a scene where M3GAN sings a lullaby, and the choice of song is so unbelievably perfect. And you can see the audience gradually realize what song it is. And just the chuckles just build and build and build because it's creepy, but it's totally funny.
It's perfect.
And this is from the writer, I want to make it clear, this is from the writer of *Malignant*, Akela Cooper. And they have figured out this tone where you take the story seriously enough that when this plot goes truly bizarre, you are laughing, but you genuinely are invested. It's really brilliant.
And James Wan co-wrote it, right?
James Wan co-wrote the story.
Okay.
Akela Cooper wrote the actual screenplay.
Okay.
And it was directed by Gerard Johnstone, who also did the movie Housebound, which I believe is a New Zealand horror film.
We should talk really fast about M3GAN herself, about the technology, because it feels like it's what, a combination of like a motion capture performance, but also a voice performance, but it's like seamlessly within our world, but just awkward enough to be off-putting and disturbing.
Yeah, again, that's the uncanny valley for you that I think dolls have always had to some extent. M3GAN, I believe, is physically performed by a young actor named Amie Donald, not McDonald, and is voiced by an actor named Jenna Davis. They're both doing incredible work. The physicality of M3GAN is like wonderfully robotic, but every once in a while, for practical reasons, it stops being like a robot human and just does what would be practical for it. Like the scene where M3GAN runs, but then she gets on all fours because it's faster. And it's like, yeah, a robot wouldn't care about committing to the facade of humanity at that point. It's genuinely kind of bizarre. And then Jenna Davis is giving this wonderfully modulated, deliciously creepy robot performance that feels like it is soulless or emotionless, but if you pay attention, you can sense just a little bit, just a little bit of snark, a little bit of judgment, a little bit of sarcasm in her voice. And it's so subtle that you don't blame the characters for not noticing, but we, the audience, are ahead of it because we know she's evil. And it makes it that much more of a treat. And
as we know from doing this for so long, January is usually dumping ground time, not a great time for films, but I had so much fun at what is the best movie of the year. Is it not?
It is the best movie of the year. It's not just January. The first week of January is often a really horrible place. And it's usually a horror movie that opens up the year. And we've had in recent years some real stinkers. And I think that trend started in earnest with The Devil Inside, a movie that literally doesn't have an ending. Like it tells you to go to the internet to see the rest of it. And then we've had stuff like Woman in Black 2, Angel of Death, Underworld, Blood Wars. This one's great. This is legitimately a great movie. I had more fun watching this movie than I had at pretty much any like blockbuster movie I saw in 2022. And I'm including the big stuff like Top Gun or Avatar. I enjoyed those movies. This one had the entire audience in the palm of its hand the entire way through. We were just having a blast the whole way. Wonderful entertainment.
It does exactly what it sets out to do, just brilliantly. So what's your number then?
I'm giving it a 9. I think this movie is great.
I'm saying 9 also, and that's because there's a thing with a dog that I did not like. That's all I'm going to say.
Here's the thing. It's PG-13, so there's nothing terribly vivid about its violence, but there is a lot of implied violence, and frankly, a little bit more visualized violence than I expected.
Yeah.
So, you might be surprised at how far it goes, but unfortunately, you don't see anything terrible.
M3GAN's in theaters. Go see it, because if you don't, she'll know, and she'll come after you. Maybe you're doing the dry January thing and we just want to start fresh and see how it goes. The fine folks at Athletic Brewing Company can help you with that. They have these amazing alcohol-free beers. I love them. I drink them all the time. I've been sober for about 4.5 years now, and I have really come to love and reach for these quite frequently. I love the IPA. I love the Golden too. It's very light and crisp. They both taste great. And look how pretty the can is, you guys. Isn't that beautiful? I love that. They're available at stores everywhere. You can get them online. We've got a deal with them. So take a look down in the description. We'll have a link for you there, and check them out and start off the new year in a happy way. Enjoy.